Welcome everybody. This is your friendly neighborhood of good. And today we are going to continue what were doing yesterday, which is trying to get uh, the nav mesh working. Um, well, the we already built the nav mesh in the last few videos, but we are going to make that little cube go to the destination, which is that little red ball that I put in there, that sphere. And so I'm just going to follow what it says in the Unity manual, and we'll see what we'll see. I'm still going to try to keep these to 10 minutes, just so that I keep it under 12 minutes instead of going all the way to full 15. And it looks like there's some movement on the nav mesh creation function in Armory. There's a couple of guys there's one guy that asked about it and said he might be able to fix that. So it's kind of cool because that means I can go back to Armory. And I'm still thinking that I might go ahead and look at Unreal Engine just to see if it's any harder or easier than Unity to do these little tests. And then after I do that, by that time, hopefully the nav mesh thing will be fixed. And I think maybe yesterday they released the Blender 2.80 release candidate, which means it's really close to being completely released. Which is cool, which means that once they fix the nav mesh thing in the Armory and the update to the newest Blender, still don't know how far out Armory 0.7 is, but it looks like it's going to be fairly soon, which will be cool because I still want to just work completely in Blender, so I don't have to do all the importing and stuff. I just make my scene in Blender, and as long as it keeps to whatever restrictions or whatever settings is required in Armory, I should be good to go. And of course, I'll have to write. Now, these deals have a lot of stuff pre-written, especially Unity. Well, probably Unreal Engine too, but they have a lot of this junk that I probably would need to use already written. And Armory, I might have to do my own a little bit. But since Armory does have a user interface a deal, a module, I don't know what you call it. You run a program and you can create the UI, and then it will run in your Armory game. So the 2D UI, and I still have to basically, because I'm going to be doing my pie menus, my radial menus. I still have to actually write that, and it's probably not going to be that hard. I don't think. Not that I'm any great shakes with user interface stuff, but it's just basically it's a one tap. You hold down, the pie menu comes up. Then you can let go and move it around. It's like if you hold down for a few seconds, it pops up, and then you can freely move the little. It'll be like a little directional ray or whatever from the mouse, and then you can left click again, and it will do that option based on what menu it's currently on. And then of course you can also click drag. So if you don't do it slowly, but about where you want to access the action. Let's say look, for instance. If look was straight up, then you click, drag, let go, in like one motion, and it would actually automatically just do that action. So it's supposed to make things easier, but also it'll be set up to actually what was I going to say? It'll be set up to be based on one button, or in the case of a touch screen, a tap. presuming that I did, on mobile devices or whatever. I'm thinking about it, but I don't know if it, I don't know how hard it'll be or whatever. But my idea for user interface was that you didn't have to use two buttons. If you watch me playing Gemini Rue on my nightly stream, you'll notice that the user interface, you'll notice that the cool. I can watch my own video on here. You can notice that the
Okay.
actually, let's mute this. You notice that the user interface is a two button dealie. So you click to move basically, but then you right click. Here, you'll see it right here when he goes down the ladder. You right click, then you click on this little, pop up context menu, and so you have to use two buttons. But my whole idea is to where it's one button, because I know Macintoshes back in the day, probably not now, probably now they probably have mouses with multiple buttons and scroll wheel and all that stuff, because it's kind of become kind of standard. But back in the day, Macintosh only had a single mouse button on their mouses, and of course when with Flash, even though we're not doing anything with Flash anymore, but with Flash, right click would bring up a Flash context menu that has nothing to do with your program. You can only really do one mouse button, the left mouse button, in a Flash application. So that was kind of born out of that, because at one point I was messing around with Flash and all that stuff, and you could only use one mouse button in that. So and then you have taps. Now I know they got multi-touch now, so you could do multiple taps. You could do a thing where everything's on screen, and stuff like that. But I think my method is still pretty good for actually just if you only require one mouse button, it just make things easier to play. So anyways, now that I've wasted time on this video, even though I was going to just go to where is it at? This one. To actually do the whole navigation thing. Now we're gonna have to kind of start over, and you'll have to see that in the next dealie. But right now, I guess what we'll do is we'll start up Unity, and we will kind of get things set up. I'll see if I can quickly, before time runs out, if I can go ahead and start. We'll see if I can go ahead and start by adding a script to the player, which isn't very hard. But then we'll turn that on, and then that'll be the end of that video, and then we'll go on to the next video. And I'm still, like I said, I'm still planning on going back to the Blender 3D Noob to Pro wiki book. Even though it's old, it's actually kind of teaching me stuff, because whereas I might be looking for an option, and that's not in there anymore, or that's different than it used to be, and I will have to look it up, and I have to say, can you do this in Blender 2.8? And then I look it up. So I do plan on going through regular Blender 2.8 tutorials, but a lot of them are just video tutorials, so I probably won't be doing them on screen. So I'll probably just go through them. Here, let me see if I can do this real quick. Where is that thing? Maybe I'll go through some tutorials online by myself, and then come back through and then show you what I learned In fact, that'll probably help me to learn, is to actually trying to show you what I learned. So that might actually help. Okay, so we need to build a simple script. Create a new script. Okay, so if I remember right, let's go to the cube. Let's go ahead and add a script, new script component. Let's call it what it calls it. Let's call it move to, like that. Create an add, and we'll go ahead and just double click it, and it will open Visual Studio for us. Okay. I guess I'll just leave this at size. I was doing that for like screenshot sake. In any case, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.